Shayorama! Alright everyone, welcome to the first episode from the first season of this new YouTube channel that I have, which is Shayorama, which is dedicated to talking about anything to do with comics and trading cards, superheroes and supervillains, including the movies that have been featured over the years. 3 weeks ago, I recorded a video to review this trading card set by Impel from 1992 to do with the Marvel Universe, and it took me 1 hour to go through the whole stack, and even then I omitted a lot of the cards because it was just a lot of information, too much information to be included in 1 hour. So what I've decided from now on is that I'm going to start over. And I'm going to talk about 5 cards per episode. But we're going to talk about the first 5 cards from the Impel Marvel Universe Trading Card Series. And we have, the first 5 would be Spiderman, Cannonball, Gambit, Sleepwalker, and Quasar. I think I got this in the wrong arrangements here. Number 1, let's see, 2. Yeah, so we'll go through each one accordingly. So the first one is Spiderman, or Friendly Neighborhood Spiderman. We have a lot of movies that have been done on Spider-Man in the past. If you recall, or if you can remember, Tobey Maguire appeared in the first 3 Spider-Man movies. In this 21st century, we had Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker Spider-Man, and then followed by Andrew Garfield in the next 2 Spider-Man movies. And then now we have Tom Holland, who is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the multiverse. So every single movie, we had a new villain that came in as the anti-thesis of Spider-Man. For example, in episode 1, in movie number 1, Spider-Man 1, it was the Green Goblin, and then in number 2, it was Dr. Octopus, and then in number 3, they were Venom, as well as Sandman, and as well as Green Goblin, the Junior. So we had that, and then we also had in Andrew Garfield's movies, we had the introduction of the Lizard, followed by the introduction of, if I can recall properly, it was Electro. Yeah, and then with Tom Holland, the first one would be Homecoming, which featured Vulture, one of the original Sinister Six, and then followed by the second one, Far From Home, which was who was it? It was Quentin Beck, Mysterio, and then now we are waiting for the next installment from the movie, which is No Way Home. So there's a lot of speculation about this movie because it hasn't been released yet, but the biggest speculation so far is that there will be 3 Spider-Man characters that'll be in there at least, and I personally would want to see Miguel O'Hara from Spider-Man 2009, but I don't think that would happen. So this is the card from Spider-Man. As you can see, he's not as powerful as cosmic beings, but he is a very big character. In fact, he's the most popular character in the Marvel comic franchise. As we know, that Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider, which is why he became superhuman. Spider-Man is not a mutant, he was an ordinary human being, but he was bitten by a spider, and then he became a superhuman, as how the Hulk became the Hulk, because he was exposed to radiation as well. His storyline involves him being a teenager, helping the crime rate to be low, and he had friends from Gwen Stacy to Mary Jane and all that. So you'll be able to, if you're familiar with the movies that you've watched by Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire, we've got several of those characters. Now let's talk a bit about Spider-Man here. So his power is web slinging. He's got his spider senses and spider sense, and he also has superhuman strength. So based on his being bitten by the radioactive spider. And there's a lot of when I was a kid, I collected a lot of Spider-Man books, which I've sold to my friends. Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. We've got those Spider-Man series as well. And Spider-Man is, how can I say this? He has a lot of villains. The great thing about following the Spider-Man arc, the Spider-Man storyline, is that you'll be exposed with a lot of villains that are very what they call this, villains that are quite powerful in that sense. So So which is why I took out several of these cards from that trading card set. One of them is Morbius. Now Morbius is a bit of a villain and a bit of a hero, so he's a bit of both. But he has had several squabbles with Spider-Man in the past in the comic series. We do know that Jared Leto will be appearing in the Morbius movie that's coming out soon. The trailer is impressive. I love the trailer, it was fantastic. I believe that Jared Leto is the man to do the Morbius character. But yeah, Spider-Man used to have some bad blood with Morbius in that sense. And then we have, of course, his arch nemesis Green Goblin, and as well the predecessor, the Hobgoblin, on his glider. We've got several features of the Goblin being featured in the movies. For example, William Dafoe was the original Goblin, the Hobgoblin or the Green Goblin. It depends on how you see it, because the comic series has the Hobgoblin and the Green Goblin. And then we have Gideon. Gideon is a very interesting character. He is a mutant, but he's also one of the externals, meaning that he's immortal. I'll get back to that the idea of being the external part. We've got, again, Fisk, Mr. Fisk, Kingpin, who is also Daredevil's arch nemesis. Kingpin also has a daughter who is also kind of like a villain in a way, also a hero in some parts of the comic series. This is what Spider-Man. Spider-Man has a lot of partnerships with a lot of other characters. For example, Moon Knight, and one of them is Sleepwalker. The reason why I brought this up is because the next card that I'm going to feature in this video is Sleepwalker. And we've got Hobgoblin there. See, you can see the difference between the Hobgoblin and the Green Goblin. So these are two different characters. So they are, of course, family related. They are from the same family tree. Magus. Well, we'll talk about Magus later. So we're talking about Spider-Man here. So Spider-Man is the first card in this trading card series. Let's go on to the second one, which is Quasar. Now Quasar is his real name is Wendell Vaughn. He wasn't a superhuman. He was actually an ordinary human being. Was part of the SHIELD operative. Was part of the SHIELD team, and then he was part of the super agents, being Marvel Boy. Before he was Quasar, he was Marvel Boy, and he was given the power. No, he was given the quantum bands to wear. The quantum bands are specific bands that you wear around your wrists. And it has the power, or the quantum power, which is being able to understand the knowledge of the universe is one thing. Has a lot of projections in terms of energy as well. And then when he was Marvel Boy, he became Marvel Man. The quantum band came from the character named Captain Marvel. If you're familiar with the movie Captain Marvel, in the comic book series, Captain Marvel is a guy. He is a character that wears the quantum band as well and has quantum powers. So what happened was that Marvel Boy was given the quantum bands and he became Quasar. And Quasar is one of the strongest characters in the Earth universe. But in terms of cosmic universe, he's not really that strong compared to, for example, Galactus and Silver Surfer and all that. But he is a player in terms of, for example, he was part of the Infinity War, part of the Avengers in the Infinity War, which is surprising because he was not in the movie. I guess they didn't have any rights to use Quasar. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating. So Quasar is an Avenger. And one of the guys that he fought against was Magus. Now Magus is Adam Warlock, the evil version of Adam Warlock. So these two fought against one another. I cannot recall what the storyline was, but that's basically in a nutshell who Quasar is. Let's take a look at number 3. Number 3 is Sleepwalker. Sleepwalker, he is not a human. He is an alien character that lives in a world that is called the Mindscape. Every single person on Earth has a Mindscape. This is where we go when we fall asleep, we dream, and that's the Mindscape. So the role of sleepwalkers, there are more than one. The role of the sleepwalker is to maintain the Mindscape, to be able to maintain balance, to make sure that humans or people who dream do not succumb to kind of like detrimental situations. But in one episode, his host, which I think was Rick, So he was part of Rick's mindscape. Rick off. I think there was one time when Rick did something to Sleepwalker that made him be able to manifest himself in the real world, which is why the reason why Sleepwalker is a character in the Marvel universe, in the Marvel comic universe. So whenever Rick falls asleep, Sleepwalker awakes. So that's the idea. Now Sleepwalker is usually not a lone wolf, as you can see previously in this. Let's see if we can find. In this card, Sleepwalker is helping Spider-Man, and Sleepwalker is also quite influential in the Infinity War. Believe it or not, because he was one of the characters who he's one of his powers, Sleepwalker. He was able to channel the telekinetic powers of telekinetic mutants. For example, Professor X. We've got Jean Grey. We've got Psylocke, and we've got I cannot remember who have other telekinetic powers. Maybe I think it's White Queen. I don't remember. I'm not sure. But what Sleepwalker can do is he can enhance these telekinetic powers and magical powers as well. Don't forget, he also enhances magical power. So Doctor Strange is strong. You know that Doctor Strange is quite powerful. But if you keep Sleepwalker, if you have Sleepwalker next to Doctor Strange, he can enhance Doctor Strange's magical mystical power even more. So that's what Sleepwalker does. This is the reason why he's also quite an able partner for certain superheroes. Other than that, that's what he is. He protects the mindscape. He's awake when Rick, his host, sleeps, and he also has his arch nemesis would be Nightmare. Nightmare is also one of the enemies, one of the foes of Doctor Strange. So maybe in the future you might be seeing them, maybe not. Alright, let's go to number 4. Number 4 is a fan favorite, Gambit. Everyone wanted to have a Gambit movie. When the X-Men movies came out, people were vying for Gambit to have his own movie. And then Gambit appeared in X-Men Origins. I believe it was X-Men Origins when Wolverine wanted to. I think he wanted to go to this island which Stryker was operating, the villain. So he approached Gambit because Gambit was the only person who was able to escape that island. Now remember that Gambit was also the only witness when Wolverine was experimented on. So he knew about Wolverine's background. So in that movie X-Men Origins, Gambit was fighting with Wolverine, and obviously Wolverine would of course be superior over Gambit because of his superior powers. But Gambit himself is no joke because his power is to do with energy, kinetic energy. Not kinetic energy. Yeah, it is kinetic energy. It's not kinesis, but kinetic energy. For example, he can imbue the energetic powers of anything that he touches, and then that becomes a projectile or becomes a weapon that explodes. And his most favorite projectiles would be his cards, his deck of cards. He also uses a staff, which is a very lengthy stick. It's kind of ninja-like weapon. So this is Gambit. Now, Remy LeBeau is his name, and in the X-Men Origin, he was acted by Taylor Kitsch. There was rumor that Tatum Channing from what's that movie that he was in? Tatum Channing is quite popular, but I cannot remember his movie. Magic Mike. There was a very big rumor that Tatum Channing was going to be Remy LeBeau or Gambit in the solo movie Gambit. But that didn't happen. I think that is for the better because I thought that Taylor Kitsch is a better Gambit than Tatum Channing would be, because Tatum Channing is just too buff. Gambit, if you've seen the animated series from the Marvel X-Men animation cartoons, Gambit is someone who is quite lean. He's not really muscular. He's someone who is lean and lanky. But yeah, I think Taylor Kitsch would be a better option in that regard. So we hope to have Gambit in the future in the movies. Alright, so that's Gambit for you. Oh yeah, and his wife is Rogue. Of course, if you followed X-Men movies, Rogue is that lady, that woman who has the power to extract or to suck in powers, other people's powers. So she is a very powerful character in X-Men. She's one of the most powerful one. In fact, she led a few of the X-Men teams as well. Alright. Okay, last one before we reach the 20-minute mark. So 20-minute mark is we want to spend 20 minutes on 5 cards alone. So we've got here Cannonball, Samuel Guthrie. Now this is a very enigmatic character because in the X-Men series, the X-Men movies, he was not at all featured because I don't know why, but I thought that he would be, because he is one of the most powerful students under Xavier's mansion, Xavier's School of Gifted Students. But he did appear in the New Mutants movie that was released in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. It was released last year. And in that movie, he was part of the New Mutants, because in the comic series, he was also part of the New Mutants, along with Wolfsbane, as well as Magic. I think people just watched the New Mutants because Magic was there, because it was acted by Anna Taylor-Joy, who was in Queen's Gambit. That next Queen's Gambit. So the power that he has is that he's able to produce energy. Initially, he was able to produce energy through his hands and his legs, which made him able to fly in very blazing fast speed. That's the reason why his name is Cannonball, because that's what he is. He's kind of like an explosion waiting to happen, but instead of exploding, it projects him here and there. So Sam Guthrie is Cannonball, so from the New Mutants, and he eventually became part of the X-Force team as well. So he's in there. That's him, along with Siren and Shatterstar and Boom Boom and Cable, and I think that's Thunderbird, was that Warpath, Feral and Domino. Now the reason why I mention him as being an enigma, Cannonball, is because Cable, in the comic series, Cannonball was killed a few times. He was shot a few times. He was I think he was decapitated one time, and he became he didn't die. He died, but then he came back to life again. So there's a certain kind of mutant form, which is the externals, who are immortals. So no matter what you do, no matter how you kill them, they will either come back alive or they become reincarnated as a baby. So that's what Cannonball is supposed to be. He is one of those very few selected mutants who are called the externals, and Gideon is one of them. Also, there are a few others. Apocalypse is also one of them, a mutant who cannot die or refuses to die. So Cannonball is one of those mutants, and that makes him quite powerful because you cannot just kill this guy. This dude will always live. Even if you kill him, he'll just come back to life, or he just gets resurrected into a baby or something like that, like Groot and all that. So that's what Cannonball is. He's one of my most favorite characters in the X-Force team, together with Shatterstar. So that's everything within the 20 minutes. So we've covered Spiderman, your friendly neighborhood spider. We've covered Sleepwalker. We've covered, let's see, what did we cover? We covered Quasar, as well as we've covered Cannonball. And the last one we did was we covered Gambit. So that's all for today's episode. Sleepwalker, Spider-Man, Cannonball, Quasar, and Gambit. Hopefully a few of these characters who have not appeared in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would appear somewhere down in the future, somewhere down the line. That's all, folks. I'll see you again in episode 2, where we'll go on to the next 5 cards in the trading card series. Thank you for watching. Shayorama.